All right. Welcome, everyone, to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 138 here. Altai, joined this week by the one, the only, the magnificent, the greatest.
Magnificent. What's other? No, I want to be called the illustrious.
The illustrious.
Right? The illustrious. What about you? Why do I get all the cool titles? What do you get?
I'm the host. The presenter, I guess. I don't get a title. You know what I hate?
Right.
Sorry, off track. Totally off track. Whenever watching a presentation, often on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
It's like Peter Thiel talking or whatever, right? The first 15 minutes is some no-name douchebag introducing the guy you're there to actually hear. I hate that.
I hate that as well. It's like such a waste of time. I always skip that bullshit and get right to the content, right to the meat.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. Podcast. Bada bing. Let's get started with the weekly raid, huh? How's that?
Sounds good. I was actually just raiding before we got on here. It was of the Pug group, and it was a disaster. So it's hopefully this weekly raid is a bit better.
We'll see. All right. So I asked the question: are Battle Royale games a fad? And despite their booming popularity, you know, PUBG's huge, Fortnite's huge, etc. Mm-hmm. We did see a bit of a wobble in the engine this past 30 days. So first, let's talk about how big these games are. Oh, we got a sub, Canaris. Thank you so much. Right on time.
True love, fam.
So this genre blew up last year, right? 2017 was the year of PUBG. Towards the end of the year, Fortnite kind of said, "Hey, we can do that too," and they got in. Mm-hmm. And now Fortnite's actually bigger in the West, at least, than PUBG. But we saw a wobble, like I said, and that wobble came in the form of Steam numbers. So if you go to Steam charts and you look at the last 30 days for PUBG, we got an 8.5% decline. And that's due to cheaters being banned, mostly, I'd say. Mm-hmm. They've banned over 1.5 million players.
That's pretty crazy.
That's huge. And each copy is what, $30? That's crazy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I want to hear your take on it, and then I can spiel a little more. Is this a fad or is this real?
I don't think it's a fad, because even though you see that number of 8.5% whenever it decline, the overall number of people playing Battle Royale games is going to be increasing, I think. I mean, tomorrow they'll be launching the Paladins version of Battle Royale. The alpha version goes live tomorrow. I'm curious how popular that'll be. But if you look at the Fortnite numbers, as you are well aware of, the numbers are going through the roof. Over 3 million concurrent players are playing Fortnite, and the game isn't even out in China yet. I mean, China is going to potentially double that size as well, because so many gamers in China. And then if you combine Fortnite with PUBG, it's forget it. There's so many people playing these games. In fact, I made a few predictions with some friends earlier, and I said Fortnite could surpass League of Legends as the most popular video game in the world.
Wow!
And just I think it's doable. The game just runs really well. Obviously, I think I don't like some of the design features of that game, but I just think it has the potential to be huge. The kids are all over it. I'm seeing memes all over it. I'm seeing that shit all over Reddit. It's over 3 million concurrent players is nothing to laugh at. I mean, the numbers as is, it's hard to compare because we don't know how many people play League every day. My estimate was, I think, 10 million daily active users was the number that I believe was the most recent thing we got from League. They said 100 million monthly active users, but monthly active is not a good proxy for daily active or concurrent users. So numbers aren't that far. I think if Fortnite doubles, it's already there. So it's definitely within reach.
Yeah, I mean, League has been at it for almost a decade now, right? Pretty much. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the beauty of Fortnite is it got this big without even being in Asia yet. Mm-hmm. And as we know, that's the biggest market, especially for free to play. And remember, Fortnite is free to play. You know, I can easily see tens of millions of Chinese people playing it. So it's definitely got that potential.
Oh, definitely. I mean, also additional 3 million people playing, and a double from Fortnite doesn't seem like that ridiculous because it's not even out in Asia yet. Yeah. That's where so many gamers are. There are more gamers in China probably than America and Europe combined. And this game can get concurrent, and the gaming culture, I think, is more prevalent in places like Asia and South Korea and China. I think just maybe we can look up some data on this, but I think video games are just more popular as a percentage of the population. There are probably more hardcore gamers as a percentage of the population of China, probably than America. I think the gaming culture there is more developed.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm. And still growing in America as well. I mean, that's nothing to laugh at either. New people are playing this game all the time, and they're releasing new peak concurrent user numbers all the time.
I don't know if it was one person or a group of people, but whoever it was at Epic Games, that decided to add the Battle Royale mode to Fortnite.
He deserves a raise.
Not just a raise, they deserve a statue made of like gold in their honor. Okay, like, and despite being free to play, right? Fortnite is free to play, so I often hear the comparison that it's not fair to compare PUBG with Fortnite, right?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a valid thing to say, but when you look at the numbers of how much people are actually spending money in Fortnite, Super Data actually has some estimates for this. Fortnite rakes in over $80 million a month. It's just one below PUBG in terms of total revenue. All right, they're both in the top 10 most money PC games. PUBG is one rank above it. That's it. So this is serious.
A little more data, actually. Riot Games in 2014 released some exact figures, some interesting data. So now we get a better comparison of if this game can ever pass League or not, and we get some numbers here. In 2014, 67 million people were playing League every month. That number has jumped to about 100 million a month now. And they said more than 27 million people play at least one game of League every day back in 2014. Obviously, number's higher now. And they actually released a concurrent number as well, the peak concurrent. The peak concurrent numbers in 2014 was 7.5 million.
Wow.
Concurrent. I mean, that's obviously a huge number, and you can extrapolate that they went from 67 to 100 million. So that's looks like about a 30% increase. So that 30% applied to 7.5 million is going to give us like 9 million. So if Fortnite can get 9 million concurrent users, it would be bigger than League of Legends. Obviously not there yet. It's got to be a triple now, not a double, but I think it's still doable.
Yeah, definitely. Also, let's not forget that Fortnite is still in early access, whereas PUBG is now out of it. And when Fortnite does leave early access this year, their PvE mode will also be free to play. Now, obviously, I doubt it'll be as big, but having that feature is just a plus, right? Like if I want to play PUBG, I can only basically play one game mode, right? It's competitive, either solo or team. But having that PvE mode, I think, will attract a lot of casuals in. A lot of casuals still, to this day, are not comfortable playing competitively. They prefer the co-op experience, at least to get used to the game. And then if they mature, they can jump into competitive.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to say that the genre itself is a fad the same way that the MOBA genre is a fad. Yes, you have amazing games like League, Dota, Heroes of the Storm, and Smite. Like these are some top tier games that are still really popular, right? And those games basically dominate the market. And there's been so many bullshit MOBAs coming out that just all shut down very quickly. That just can't succeed. So many, like literally dozens. And I think we're going to see the same thing happen with Battle Royale. Games like there's a free to play game. I know we actually played this game before, Last Man Standing, if you still remember, on Steam. It was a free to play battle royale, like it was like a poor man's PUBG, but like literally worse in every single way. It really had very little innovative aspects to it. It's made by Free Reign. It's got relations with Sergei Titov, the guy that everyone hates from War Z. But it was a really janky, lame battle royale game, and people played it because it's free to play. But with Fortnite now, nobody's gonna play this garbage. But I think games like PUBG and Fortnite are gonna dominate, and maybe there might be room for a third place game, be a battle royale. But after that, those three will dominate the market. Next ones will all you'll see lots of bullshit battle royale games coming out this year. In fact, there's a new game announced just this week actually. See if we can find it for you. It was Project X. It was a 400-player battle royale game.
Wow.
That it was called Project X. They got a name now. It's called Mavericks. It's gonna be a 400-player battle royale game. There's an article on PC Gamer about it. I didn't put it up on MMOs.com yet though, but let me link that to you. But is it a fad? I mean, they want to capitalize on it, but they are saying they want some actual They want some actual MMO elements. Not sure what that's going to actually mean, though, because there's so little information on this right now. Actually, they're calling it 1,000-player. 400-player Battle Royale game mode with 1,000 players in different game mode, perhaps. But 400 people in a single map seems pretty insane.
Well, two things. One, firstly, the comparison to MOBAs is apt, because what I'm curious is, here's what I'm curious about. Will it be a genre that we see new entries year after year? Or will it go the MOBA route? So what happened with MOBAs is basically you have a duopoly, League and Dota, and then you have a couple mid tiers like HOTS, Smite, right?
And Smite, yeah,
but,
those two.
But it did not live up to the expectations of all the people pouring in. EA had a MOBA at one point. There was that Infinity Crisis MOBA. These all shut down. These all went away.
There's so many. There's been so many dead MOBAs.
Yeah. So that's my real question. When I say fad, do I mean is this going to be everyone chasing and failing to catch up to these two, PUBG and Fortnite? Or are we going to see maybe a more vibrant scene where like MMORPGs, where like there's lots and lots of companies making money? Lots of studios.
No.
Okay, you don't
That's
think
not going to happen. Okay. I don't think so. I think all the money's going to go towards maybe 3 companies, and the rest are going to be dead. I think like the thing about MOBAs too is MOBAs needed a high player base. A MOBA cannot survive without a thriving player base. The way an MMORPG can. There are so many games on Super Games that have like 10 people online, 15 players online concurrent, right? It's garbage, a very low player base, but it doesn't matter because the games you can basically play an MMORPG as a single player game, explore the world, do the quests, maybe like raid with a group of like 3 other people. That's fine. You can do that. You can't do that in MOBAs. You need to always have a vibrant player base to make sure matches are balanced. You can always find matches really quickly. A MOBA simply cannot survive on a low player base, and I think with Battle Royale games, nobody wants to wait in a giant ass queue. With if you can't get like at least 1,000 players concurrent with a Battle Royale game, forget it. You're dead in water because the queue times will be too long, especially with the 100-player, 200-player matches.
And okay, here's a fun story. You talked about how that Last Man Standing is dead, right? And this game, let's be real, was kind of a throwaway game, even when it first came out, right?
Yes.
But you have real games, like H1Z1, which was actually made by at least the Battle Royale mode was actually made by PlayerUnknown himself. And this game was huge when it first came out. This game started the career of the biggest streamers out there, like Dr. Disrespect. He started with H1Z1, and this game has been totally decimated by PUBG. It's lost 90% of its player base since last July. So it's like what?
Holy moly!
6 to 7 months. They went from hero to like literal zero. Like, let's see if I can find some of their numbers here on Steam charts. But this game got clobbered, and it really shows there's really not room for more than one game like this. Now Fortnite is lucky; they're smart too. They went the cartoon route, right? So they're not, having direct friction with PUBG. But with those two, you got the cartoon version and you got the realistic military one. Is there room for anything else?
It's gonna be tough, and going from 86,800 concurrent players average to 8,300. That is, oof. PUBG definitely won that war. I mean, both H1 and PUBG were kind of competing for the same realistic, gritty battle royale genre, a market. Whereas Fortnite is a little different. So at least they had that little different aspect working out for them: the cartoony graphics, the building, the third-person view. So wow, H1 is donezo though. Yeah, totally donezo.
I mean, look, this is amazing. They lost a third of their player base month after month after month after month.
Yikes. Rest in pepperoni, H1.
Yeah. It looks like we're on the same page, though. It's basically going to be these two games and maybe a couple stragglers, and everyone else is going to bust.
It seems like so hard to actually make a genre beyond that. Like, I don't know if we ever have like another genre where like, FPS, where literally there's new games coming out for FPS every year, like, or MMORPG, or adventure, like, these are such broad genres. I don't think we're going to have stuff like that, like new genres in that way. Perhaps like Minecraft style or Roblox style, like
that's one.
Sandboxy content would be its own like genre. Like that's a thing. I think there'll be many games in that genre that'll succeed over the years. But Battle Royale is not broad enough for that.
All right, well, guys, share your thoughts below on the state of the genre, not genre / fad. And
more importantly, let's talk about cheating in Battle Royale in Fortnite rather, because I was mind blown when you told this to me last night.
Okay, so as we all know, PUBG's biggest problem is cheaters. Okay, since inception, and they're banning accounts, right? But they've been kind of slow to address this issue. At least the player base thinks they've been slow, and it's remarkable to me.
Region lock China. I'll continue.
Exactly. Yeah, they should do that actually.
All they got to do.
But the approach that Fortnite has taken is so radically different, and I thought it was extreme. But you know what? It's working. So at the end of the day, maybe they're right. And here's what they're doing. If you cheat or write cheats or for Fortnite, they will go after you under copyright law because you have to kind of reverse engineer the files and the server stuff to like actually cheat in the game. So what they do is they actually serve you papers. They take you to court if they catch you cheating. And they don't care if you're a kid. If you're a minor, it doesn't matter. They're going to serve you papers. They're going to go through the process and make you, agree to terms to stop. And the how far they're going along with this is insane. If they can't find you, right, themselves, like if let's say for whatever reason, they will hire private investigators. And they've done this in Canada against Canadian players and in America against American players. They will hire private investigators to find out where you live so they can serve you the court papers and take you to court and sue you. And the beauty is if you're a minor and you get served these papers, not only do you have to go to court, but your guardian does too. So could you imagine, like, if you're like some 15-year-old, like Omar and I used to be 15-year-olds playing Counter-Strike and cheating, Could you imagine a knock at the door by this private investigation team, and they're like, okay, you have to appear, you've been summoned to court, and since you're a kid, your mom has to go too. Your mom would freak out. You would never be able to, you would not be allowed.
Lose computer privileges forever.
Yeah.
You be. Oh my god.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
actually, I am so happy that this is a thing. God bless Epic Games, and I feel like if they put like a donation fund on their website for like going after cheaters, like the anti-cheat, like completely optional, I would pitch in. People that are cheating in these games are fucking ruining games, and the fact that Epic Games has the balls to go after cheaters by literally, even if they're minors, hunting them down, getting private investigators to serve them papers, and bringing them to court. It really does come to. It's so insane, but they're actually doing it because they are breaking copyright laws to make those cheats. And I'm not sure where the law is broken when you're actually using the cheats, but I'm sure just by threatening to sue you and actually suing you, even if you're innocent, right? Even if you're innocent, just showing up in court becomes a huge hassle. It costs you money as well, but it's doing such a good in the world. I think getting rid of these shitty cheaters is going to make the game a better place. And if people, and the thing is with this tragedy, if they do this a lot early on and they kind of bring down the hammer on a lot of people, even at a great expense, if it costs a couple $1 million at the beginning, it will deter cheaters in the future. If you know, like, that's not the game to cheating. Go cheat in PUBG. The worst that's gonna happen is they'll ban your account. Go cheat in CS:GO instead. Who cares? You know, if you cheat in Epic Games, and Fortnite, you risk having to go to court and spend thousands defending yourself. So I don't know. I am mega impressed with Epic Games.
It is. You know what? When I read this, I thought they were going too far, and it doesn't sit well with me, right? But you're right. If you can make an example out of a few people early, and establish this as this is not the game to cheat in, you know, that can serve dividends for years to come for your game. And I should note, guys, that this is a civil issue, so you can't go to jail even if they show up to your house. This is not a jail thing. This is not like a criminal thing. It's more of like a scare tactic. And I'll tell you guys a good story. When Omar and I were young, we used to pirate stuff all the time, and we still do. But now we use VPNs. But in the past, we didn't know what that was, right? So we would just pirate shit, and we got letters in the mail. And I guess we were lucky that our dad didn't really care. He's like, my kids know how the internet works. I don't care about these letters. But we had a friend who got one of these letters, like, you know, you pirated on this day. If you don't stop, you know, it's a violation of these rules. And our friend freaked out. He ran to our house. He lived nearby, and he was like, in a state of panic. Like, am I gonna get sued? My mom can't find out. I'm gonna get in so much trouble. And we're like, dude, don't worry about it. They're not gonna sue you. It's just to scare you, you know. Just use a VPN next time. Relax. But he was so freaked out, and I think this will have the same effect. You know, they're not going to actually go after you for like money or jail time or anything, but the freak out nature and, you know, just people being scared by those letters is going to stop the cheating a lot.
I think one of the cases he settled for $5,000 with the cheater. So there are some numbers on previous settlements. So they're pretty crazy.
And that's an important thing. This is not a one-off, two-off. We just hear about the times in the interesting cases with the PIs and the minors, but they go after these cases hardcore, and they've settled many of them.
Again, I have so much respect for what they're doing, so much respect, because it doesn't matter if this happens to you, you're gonna settle right away. You don't want to deal with this bullshit, especially if you know you were cheating. If you know you're guilty, too, you know you don't want to bring this to court and drag it out. And again, like my brother said, it's not a criminal issue. You're not going to jail. You're not going to prison for this. You could pay a fine at worst, but it will deter cheaters. And I think I feel like you need to do stuff like this to stop cheating, because FPS games especially have been hotbeds for cheating, whether it's CS:GO. There was a study, I think, on somebody did like a study on Reddit to see how many people were cheating in like the highest levels of CS:GO. It's through the roof. Like, more people cheat than you think in shooters, because I feel like that's the most prevalent case of cheating in games. It's always gonna be FPS games, because the cheats are kind of easier to write. They're all client side, and they're like aimbots, all entirely client side on your end. Whereas cheating in MMORPG is much more difficult. You can always bot, but you can't like duplicate gold, because that's all server side. So I think they have to do this, and I am mega impressed with them.
So I have a question for you. I think I remember we discussed this months ago, where in Korea it actually became a criminal offense to cheat. So would you go a step further than Epic here, and actually make it a criminal offense?
Yes.
Really?
I think it would create a better outcome for everyone.
No, Mr. Fester, thank you.
Oh, mucho appreciate, Mr. Fester. But think of it. I mean, it is kind of silly, right? In its face, cheating an online game can land you in prison, right? It's a very silly notion. Mm-hmm. However, I think the vast majority of people playing video games, like 99%, right, would just be better off. Like, it's a win for 99%, a lose for 1%, and the 1% doesn't have to cheat. Like, it's not like you're starving on the street and you got to steal some bread, right? No, you're playing a video game and you're going out of your way to cheat and ruin other people's experience. Frankly, I don't care about that 1%. Make that 1% as miserable as possible. Put it behind put
Well-
it behind bars. Doesn't matter to me. All right.
Oh my god.
If they've ruined the experience for everyone else, I think it's a net positive that if society punishes them.
No, I think it's too far. I think it's just too far. It's too. I mean, how about this then? If you're walking down the street and you like yell an obscenity at like a grandma, right? That's a bad thing to do. It's a social. It's an antisocial thing, and society should punish you in some way. You know, but that punishment doesn't have to be criminal. Like, they don't have to lock you up for that.
I agree.
And I think
the thing is, in Western countries where we're from, we value free speech, so we tolerate things like that. You know, and maybe in a place like Singapore, maybe that won't be tolerated. Maybe you might end up in jail in Singapore if you say stupid shit like that, or more authoritarian countries.
isn't hacking or altering the server code a form of free speech?
No.
Why?
No, murder for free speech.
No, murder isn't because you're
Why?
because that person is no longer alive. How is that the same?
I was advocating my. It was a statement. I was making a political message. Right?
What?
Clearly, I don't know. You could stretch anything to be.
Well,
you try to stretch the.
To be fair, I don't think.
Cheating online game is not free speech.
Why?
Why? How is that free speech?
It's antisocial behavior with no real like harm, like no victim.
There are victims.
What is a victim?
Whoever you're playing with, you ruin their experience.
I'm not ruining their. Well, if someone insults you on your way home from work on a bus stop, it kind of ruins your experience of that commute.
Obviously, it does. I agree. Like I said,
but you wouldn't like
Western
that guy.
society, yeah, I know. Because in Western society, we value free speech over, you know, because it actually is speech. Versus cheating online game is not speech. Doing antisocial behavior is not speech. It's not any form of protest. It's just you're just being an asshole.
Speech doesn't have to be protest. All right, I guess we're on different. I think it's a dangerous precedent to lock people up for cheating in a video game.
Hypothetically, let's say it works though. Let's say South Korea, they did this and they find out years later that this is actually it reduced the 99% cheating went down. They poll gamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they all say they're happier. Like the average aggregate rating. You know, on a quiz, they all say they're happier. They're living better lives because of there's no more cheating in their games. Now, they ask Altai, was it a good policy or a bad policy?
Bad. Because you can make the same argument for just, like I said, just banning insults on the street. And then they poll people 10 years later, and all the grandmas are happy because the punks aren't making fun of them.
They're not doing that anyway. That's a non-issue.
No, it's not a non-issue. It happens.
No, it doesn't. People don't go on the street to yell at grandmas.
Hold up.
That doesn't happen.
Omar and I were walking down the strip in Las Vegas, right? And this guy slapped Omar's ass. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Now
I remember that.
Okay. I mean, you kind of laughed.
I took it as a compliment, all right?
Okay, you took it as a
A
compliment.
guy actually slapped my ass while walking in public.
Omar's a good-looking guy, guys. This is proof. It's all the proof you need.
That's a proof.
But you could see how this could be a form of harassment or trauma to like someone, right?
Yeah.
So we could ban. It might already be banned. I'm not even sure.
It probably already is a crime, by the way, to physically slap people in the ass on the street. All right, that probably is already a crime.
Sure, but okay. I think what I'm trying to say is I would put things like cheating in a video game in the same category, antisocial behavior, right? As you know, the dog whistle or slapping or like insulting people. This is kind of the same grouping of it's serious, it's bad.
Someone's ass is not the same as cheating in an online video game. One is like physical. One is
let's say they didn't slap you, but they said, hey, you know, hey, hunky, yeah,
hunky,
hey, hunky,
fine.
want to suck my D?
Good.
Like, no.
Yeah, sure, he can say whatever he wants.
Okay, all right, anyway, it's antisocial.
Just like you can make the free speech argument if you want to say in a game like Overwatch, in a Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, where you're allowed to, you know, you can say some mean things, right? That's a better analogy. If you know the free speech, you can exercise your right to communicate in those games however you want, and maybe criminalizing. Let's say criminalizing that would be silly, I think, because that literally is free speech.
I want to communicate by putting bullets through the wall into your head in Overwatch. That's how I communicate. I choose to communicate that way.
But that goes back to my nonsense argument that I want to murder you for free
No.
speech.
If you murder someone, you're hurting them. Like, what? We mean what?
Yeah. Your analogy makes no sense because again, the better analogy is exercising speech in Overwatch by talking or yelling, or doing whatever you want, and make that'd be silly to criminalize that.
Okay, I think we're putting these in different categories. That's a problem. So ultimately, I think since Overwatch or any game is entertainment, the interactions in that world are fundamentally cannot hurt anyone. So they're kind of like insults, right? Whereas
I don't understand though. You would. Even a hypothetical scenario where if they criminalize cheating, it actually works. Nobody cheats anymore.
Yeah.
Literally everyone's experience, except maybe like 0.01% of people that cheat, like got enhanced. In fact, even a lot of the cheaters will probably be happier because I feel like a lot of cheaters, they kind of end up cheating because they die to cheaters and they get pissed off at cheaters, right? And they get like, fuck, if I can't beat them, I'm gonna join them. I feel like that's a lot. I feel like a good percentage of cheaters end up cheating because of that reason. They're pissed off that other cheaters are fucking ruining their day. That they end up doing the same thing. If you even of the cheaters, I say most will be happier that way if it results in less people cheating. So very few people that want to go out of their way to actually like sit there and ruin people's games and just like troll people. There are people out there that do that, but not that many. So at their expense, if you can just make the gaming world a better place, you wouldn't do it. Let's say you wouldn't press a button and make that happen.
The year is 2100. The setting, a boy playing Overwatch 16 in his bedroom. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. SWAT, open up. Bam, the door gets knocked down. 12 guys with guns rush in. They shoot the poodle because that's what they do. And then they throw you to the wall on the ground. And they say, "What, sir? What I do? What I do? You TK'd in PUBG, breaking the rules of service. You are under arrest. You will be re-educated for 12 years in the camp, and you get dragged out. That's the world you want to create, all right?"
No, look, there are some nuances here, okay? And if you take it to the extreme, obviously it's pretty bad. I don't think just TOS violations in and of themselves should be such a negative thing. Cheating is, I think, a particularly extreme example of breaking the TOS, and it really can ruin the game for other people. Whereas just talking shit or team killing by accident, by the way,
team killing can ruin the game as much as cheating. Are you kidding? Imagine every time we spawn in Counter-Strike, I just literally turn around and kill all 4 people 12 times in a row. That's just as bad as cheating.
I don't think it's as bad because you're not introducing outside elements of the game.
I'm ruining the experience just as much.
The whole point of cheating is that you are actually introducing outside elements of the game rather than just within the game itself. Yeah, I think they should just ban you for that. Not at no point should that be criminalized. And I'm not sold on the fact that criminalizing it is a solution either. I'm saying if the results of criminalizing cheating ends up being that it's a vastly positive and it goes like almost nobody cheats and people are just generally happier, then it's a win.
The ends justify the means, huh?
Usually, yes. And I think for anyone who seriously considers that question, they will all agree that yes, it does. The ends almost always justify the means.
So one more question before we move on. Why do you like Hitler? All right, let's move on.
I feel like that might be a little bit of a loaded question there. I know you're very firmly pro cheating, but like I just see it indefensible. Like those guys that are just like, why defend these people?
The cost of freedom, baby. Freedom is not freedom ain't free.
All this thing's done a crusade for freedom over here.
Yeah, that's me.
I think that they should. Epic Games is doing God's work. God bless Epic Games.
All right.
Let's move on to I think one of the most controversial bits of news and happenings this week.
More than this? No.
More? Maybe not more than that actually, but like it's actually really silly. My mind is blown at this time. This is a case of like really, really bad decisions and just absolute retardation. I know that's not a PC word these days, but I'm gonna use it. Retardation. So Black Desert Online this week sparked a bit of a pay-to-win controversy with the addition of an item called the Blessing of Kamasliv. I am certain I am pronouncing that word incorrectly every time. How do you pronounce Kamaslivi or Kamaslivia, Kamasliv?
Kamaslive, all right, if you're French.
Kamaslive. I'm pronouncing horribly wrong every time. But basically what happened was, about a year ago, maybe you want to show the interview. It might be worth listening to, actually, because I linked to the timestamp in the interview, the exact timestamp where this happens.
Okay, let's put it on.
All right, let's listen to it and make sure everyone else can hear it too, and I'll be quiet for about a minute.
Okay, let me just double check my audio levels. Beep, boop, beep, boop. Oh, we didn't check our audio levels this time, but we'll see how it goes.
I've looked at the Catchup briefly. I have an entire community that is dissecting the living crap out of Black Desert right now. And other than the costume prices being high, which they, a lot of people, I do feel they're a little high right now. But other than the costume pieces being high, it seems like you guys are doing a really good job of avoiding that whole pay-to-win thing. And I remember, I believe I read a post. I don't know if it was from you or another representative of the NA version. You guys are very familiar with other MMOs, and they will remain unnamed, and how they treaded that slippery slope and eventually, unfortunately, went the way of pay-to-win. How strong are you guys against that? And if there's anything you can share on some of the measures that you've taken thus far to change the game, to make sure that we don't experience that, please feel free. Would love to know it.
Actually, I can give some pretty solid examples that people that have followed the other regions, they've already seen it, and I'll gladly share it with everyone here. So if you look at the cash shop right now, under the loyalty section, there is an item. It's called the Blessing of Camasylvia. This gives you increased energy regeneration, and it gives you a 20% loot buff. I believe it's 24 hours long. This is a market item that is available for purchase in the Korean region. You can buy it, you can sell it on the auction house. It's a pretty significant buff. We're talking 20% loot gain. That's pretty big. Instead of having that available directly via the cash shop where you can spend some money and have that kind of buff, we've moved it over to the loyalty section. And the way loyalty works is every day whenever you log in, you're going to receive 100 loyalty points. This means you don't need to pay, etc. If you play the game, you'll eventually get that buff, and it's bound to you. Even at that stage, you can't sell it. That's one example. There's another item that was originally...
Okay, so that's the main point, right? Yeah. I don't hear you right now. What happened?
All right.
Okay.
That was basically it.
Okay.
So the main point there is that essentially they add this item to the game called the Blessing of Camasliv, and they specifically said in the interview that this item was they're talking about pay to win in different regions of Black Desert, because the Western version is actually buy to play, the Korean version and other regions are free to play. So the community manager for Kakao Games basically said that in order to make the Western version not pay to win, which is what the interviewer was asking about pay to win, he said we actually moved this item from the game's cash shop to the loyalty rewards section. So you can't buy it with money because they figured that buying it with money would make it pay to win, and people don't like pay to win, right? So you can get it in the game for free by playing and logging in every day. And once you get it, they actually made it so you can't transfer it either because it was bound to you. You couldn't sell it in the auction house because they figured this item was too powerful. And what happened just this last week was they're like, wait a minute, we're going to do a full 180 on this one and release this item in the cash shop. So the item that they said they took out of the cash shop for being too strong, they put back in for money, which is unbelievably stupid of them. Because if they wanted to go sell pay-to-win items, which I'm sure they want to do, right? If they want to do this and they want to go this route, just name it something different. Don't name it the one item you actually specifically removed for this reason. Just call it something else. Make the buff something different. Sell pay-to-win. This is like the most stupid way to do this. It just proves to me that they're not thinking about this. They give no fucks, and they're willing to just kind of just rub the shit all over their players' faces. They have no respect for their players.
The way I saw it is, at this point, Black Desert's been out for like what, a year, 2 years, right? Almost 2 years probably. Why don't they just make it free to play?
Yeah, if they made the game free to play as well, this wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like
Exactly.
I get that the pay-to-win argument is still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is when you're talking free to play versus buy to play versus subscription, in a subscription game, people aren't willing to tolerate any pay to win. Basically, there's very little pay to win, even pay for convenience stuff in subscription games like WoW and Final Fantasy 14 and EVE Online, right? But in a free to play game, people are more tolerant of some elements of pay to win, and maybe you can't go too far, but I think you can get away with stuff like this in Black Desert if the game was free to play. But the fact that it costs money, and specifically that they said that they got rid of this because it was considered pay to win. It just insane.
Yeah, I agree. They should have. I think this game will go free to play sooner rather than later. It's only it's usually $10, but it's often on sale for less, like $5. And as the guy in that video said, the things in the cash shop are not cheap in Black Desert. If you buy one outfit, if you buy like those pets that you need to loot, to auto loot for you, if you buy this stuff, it's more than $10. So your first purchase in the cash shop will be over like $10 probably in BDO. So there's no reason for them not to go free to play. Besides, someone in the chat did mention there might be a botting problem, but they should just have more moderation to ban those people. But who knows? I don't know. But this game needs to be free to play. This is despite being buy to play, since day one I felt Black Desert was structured as a free to play game. The cash shop is super paid for convenience, super necessary stuff for any kind of player who's serious.
And here lies, I think, a big problem, I think, between buy to play and free to play, because very often buy to play games, they simply don't generate enough money from their initial purchase to make sure the game remains entirely not pay to win. Like Black Desert, a lot of people bought Black Desert for $5 to $10, and yeah, they made a lot of money off that. But the developers are thinking we gotta make some more money, because if I get a player that only spends $5 and nothing else, that's not a lot of money for the developer. And maybe they should charge more. Maybe they should charge $25 and kept at that price, and then not introduce any of these pay to win bullshit elements. They could have done that route. But when you're selling a game for $5, you're going to be dabbling in the free-to-play, pay-to-win nonsense arena as well.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm surprised the game has been buy to play it this long. It's due to go free to play. They got to do it.
Why this item? How could they be this obtuse? In the words from Shawshank Redemption, how could they be this ridiculous? The item that their community manager explicitly said that they moved out of the cash shop, they're putting back in. Just release something else.
Well, I got a little bit of a conspiracy theory for this. Ready?
Oh, I love conspiracy theories. Let's hear it.
So the developer Pearl Abyss went public recently.
Yeah.
So now they gotta meet those quarterly Wall Street or Gangnam Street, whatever the financial. They gotta meet those Gangnam Street numbers. All right. So they're being pushed hard to hit those numbers. All right. That's what they do.
I mean, as their earnings reports come out, we'll see how they do. But I mean, the game has been doing really well. Actually, I mean, on the Gangnam Street topic, actually, their stock has more than doubled, I think, since they IPO'd. So Black Desert is bringing in the moolah still, thanks to again North America. Actually, Black Desert was one of those games that actually was way more successful in America and Europe than its home market of South Korea. I know they broke out their numbers and we talked about it in previous podcasts, but I think over half their revenue comes from the Western markets, whereas almost any other Korean MMORPG. Basically, North America and Europe are basically rounding errors for them. Like Maple Story is nothing. Yeah, a joke. Like Maple Story is probably the most popular next-gen game in America by far, but it's a joke. It makes no money in America. Almost all the money from Maple Story comes from South Korea and China, and I can't think of any other Korean game that's like mega successful here. Maybe Terra did better in America than Asia, but that was relatively small compared to how big I think BDO and
If you look at like NCSoft, Nexon, Netmarble, it's like over 90% in East Asia. Versus like less than like 5% in like North America and Europe.
And RG Tab saying in the chat on the Reddit thread discussing the item, there were people defending the item and saying that they requested cacao add to the cash shop. Yeah, maybe a couple guys requested it, but like it just seems I can't imagine. I think if you pull players on this, it's pretty obvious that almost everyone's going to say we don't want this in the game. Like it'd be like 99% to 1. Some people are willing to pay money for those advantages and conveniences, but I think most people realize it's kind of unfair, fundamentally unfair. But the game's got to go free to play. I think that's the only alternative here. Yeah. I can't imagine they're making much money off the retail purchase anymore. I think Black Desert is a good game overall, but I think a lot of people are upset with cacao games. People are saying they're ruining the game, but that's weird because usually when you say the game's being ruined by the publisher, you look to another publisher that's publishing the same game doing a good job. If you look at the Korean version of BDO, it has the same pay-to-win stuff. In fact, the American version probably is still a little bit less pay-to-win because they still make up some of that revenue with the box sales. So I know players want the game to not be pay-to-win, but I think really the only way that I've seen for an MMORPG to have no pay-to-win is to be a subscription. Otherwise, you have to be okay with some level of pay to win. It just seems like that's reality today. Can you think of an MMORPG off the top of your head that's not pay to win, that's free to play? At least to some degree. Like Maple Story's always had pay for double XP, pay for teleportation.
I got one.
Pay for all mega convenience.
I got one, and it's a good transition. Ready? Path of Exile.
Ooh, you're right. That's probably the only one.
Yeah, and
I think everything else I've played.
And even that
maybe
is
Terra to a degree.
Maybe I don't know about. I'm not familiar with how Terra. Maybe when I don't know because I played it during.
I haven't played it in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't played it in so long. But Path of Exile, guys, in about 10 days, the new league is gonna come out, and this one is gonna copy a little bit from Pokemon and Monster Hunter. It's called the Bestiary League.
Were you about to say bestiality? The Bestiality League? You were about to say it. You were about to say it.
I was. So I'll play the trailer here. Basically, monster collecting. So any of the monsters you see, the beasts you see in the world, not the monsters, you'll be able to capture. And you can fill out your Pokédex. You can even take them back to your little instanced, persistent, like little housing area, and they call it the menagerie. It's basically a zoo. Ooh. And you can kind of show off your little captured creatures. Then you can sacrifice them to upgrade your gear. So that's pretty cool. And what impresses me here is the pace of development that this game is still undergoing, despite being now years old, like half a decade old. We're getting huge. Every 3 months is a new league. That's how the game is structured. And pretty much we've seen huge improvements in this game year after year. And they actually released a stat about hours played. So in 2016, they had less than 200 million total hours played by all players. Mm-hmm. In 2017, it was over 400 million. So the game more than doubled in both player base and I guess investment of time that players put into the game. So this is and I don't, a lot of people I know, they tried this game when it first came out, like over years and years ago, and they were put off by the graphics. All I gotta say to those people is they've upgraded the graphics a lot in 2017. It runs a lot smoother, it looks a lot better, and if you have like a 2K monitor, high FPS monitor, it will look good now compared to like 4 or 5 years ago.
Beyond these changes, you want to talk quickly about the game's cash shop?
Yeah. So the cash shop in Path of Exile has basically 2 categories of things you can buy. One is pure cosmetics, like cosmetic pets that follow you around, cosmetic outfits. And the other is stash tabs. So if you guys have played Diablo-style games in the past, you have a stash that you share with your account and all your characters. And everyone gets, I think, 3 or 4 tabs, the giant inventory screens they can put their shit in. And you have to buy extras for money. The only way to get more stash tabs is to buy them. Or, alternatively, you can do what everyone did back in Diablo 2 and make new accounts, because the game is free to play. You could theoretically, if you don't want to pay, you could theoretically make like 6 accounts and then just trade between them, kind of like we used to do back in old day. You guys remember Diablo 2? You go to an empty room, you drop shit on the ground, right? Then you log in with the other character, pick it up, and put it in their stash.
Yep.
So you could still do that. You can make a private lobby with one computer. You can have 2 versions of the game running. You can multi-box this game. I've done it. And you could literally just trade that way. But for convenience, you can just pay a few bucks and get a few stash tabs. So it's pure convenience, no pay to win. You don't even need those tabs, because unless you're a hoarder. The only reason to have lots of tabs in this game is the hoarder instinct. Most of the shit you put in your tab is kind of useless anyway, but you like collecting shit,
Mega respect to Path of Exile for going this route. You'd think by now maybe they would experiment with some pay to win stuff, but no, they've been really holding to their principles. And obviously they can make a lot more money if they sold some pay for convenience stuff, but they're really holding the line and holding their dignity. And I think people are giving them a lot of respect for it too. A lot of respect for this. And I do want to comment on this update. I think in MMORPGs especially, the idea of pet collecting, any kind of collection is genius. Because I think in and of itself, it's kind of a lame idea, and it really doesn't do too much. But within an MMORPG, it gives players more things to do. Like, if you've ever done pet battling in World of Warcraft, or maybe just collecting it, or even mount, like things like pet battling in World of Warcraft, or just gathering every mount in World of Warcraft, some of them have such insanely low drop rates. Final Fantasy 14 as well, and minion gathering, and doing those achievements, like these little things, I think really do a lot to enhance the overall experience of an MMORPG. I think Path of Exile is really smart to be adding this now. It'll help flesh out the game a lot and give people something to do besides just the constant gear grind. They're clearly trying to add some more MMORPG elements to the game where you have just more than just the gear grind.
Definitely. And they added this is not new, but they added something called the player hideout, which is like your instanced housing zone, and you can decorate it. And I've been to many people's hideouts. And, everyone has the same blueprint, right? The empty room.
Mm-hmm.
But the way people have organized it is so different. And you have to unlock those kind of, you have to purchase those decorations in-game. Like, you can find them in-game and stuff. And the things people do...
There's player housing in Path of Exile, right? So there's player housing in Path of Exile.
Yes. It's instance, though. It's not like part of the world.
Yeah,
obviously.
The
whole game's instance, so obviously that's instance, too.
Yeah. But I mean, so many MMORPGs have that kind of system as well. Very few games have persistent housing. Very few.
Yeah. One more thing. People in chat have compared Warframe to Path of Exile, and while the 2 games are similar, I think in gameplay, I think Path of Exile is less pay to win.
100%. You can pay to get you can pay to not have fun in Warframe is the way I seem to view it, because like really the grind and the process of getting items and the journey is what makes Warframe fun. If you just skip all that stuff, there's nothing else to do. Like, you just spend a lot of money, and then what do you do?
Well, But explain what you can buy in Warframe to pay to whatever you were saying.
Basically, you can. Well, there's also you can sell your items, the rare items you get, the rare crafting materials you get in the game's auction house to other players, and you can sell it for in-game premium currency as well. So you can use premium currency basically to buy all the rare drops and materials and the crafting stuff you need to get the latest Warframes. So you can kind of pay to skip all the fun.
Exactly. You can pay basically in Warframe. You can pay to unlock the new items or gear, right? Mm. I guess the Warframe itself is like your robot outfit, and that's basically gear. I would say in a way, a class maybe you can call it. But yeah, you can pay for that shit in Warframe. In Path of Exile, you can't. You cannot pay to like level boost or get certain gear in Path of Exile.
The Warframe, again, is not particularly bad with pay to win.
Yeah.
Warframe does a really good job with it, actually.
Yeah, that's true. It's not bad.
It's nowhere near as like insulting as some of the stuff that now BDO has been adding and some other games have been adding. In fact, I mean, we want to talk. You want to talk? Fine. We saw what Black Desert Online is doing. We saw how good Path of Exile system is and how good Warframe system is. There's other MMORPGs just actually having no pay to win controversy this week as well. There's been a lot of pay to win controversy this week, but this one I think is pretty funny. Lineage 2, an oldie, introduced a new item to their cash shop called the Circlets of Power, which are basically circlets. They're helmets you can wear, which are best in slot items, which is a pretty lame thing to add a best in slot item to the game's cash shop. But they're not best in slot right away. They're only best in slot if you fully upgrade them. And you can only upgrade them with special scrolls from the cash shop. And once you do, they're best in slot by far. They become mega OP then. So, and of course, the way the systems are designed, like the thing about free-to-play games, which is so, I think, so bizarre and just really does kind of attack the players' like conscious and like just trying to trick them and manipulate them to spending money, are these upgrade systems for gear. Because with this item, you can upgrade. It starts at +0. You gotta get to +5, right? And once it gets to +5, it levels up. It's got 3 different tiers for it, right? And if you fail at leveling up, if you're +4 and you want to get to +5, the odds are obviously a lot lower. And if you fail, it goes back to +0. But once you get to +5 and it upgrades to the next tier, it can only fall back down to that tier.
Okay.
Which is, however, to go from +0 to +5 with only cash shop scrolls every single time, I imagine it's going to cost hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. It just, that system, I absolutely hate it. Because MapleStory has it. Basically, almost every free-to-play game has some kind of system with a similar system. Even if it's with stuff in the game, like you can upgrade with in-game currency, right? Usually you can buy some in the cash shop to increase your odds, or to guarantee it, or to make it so if you fail, it doesn't lower it, right?
Yeah.
There are always cash shop ways to manipulate the upgrading system. I think the upgrading system itself is not a problem. And I actually really like it because
RO did it.
You know, Ragnar Online did it. And I think in MapleStory, to get like that perfect gear, like a +8 upgrades or +10 upgrades on your work glove, like to actually get every upgrade slot in is astronomically low. It's like a 1 in a million chance. Like if you ever see a player with like the maxed out like upgrades, and he actually got every single one, like it's mind blowing luck and really cool. But the moment you introduce cash shop elements to that, and it's such an easy way for them to monetize, they plug in the monetization system into, it ruins it. Because I think standalone it's great, but it just gets ruined by the cash shop, and it makes it so pay to win and insane. Best in slot, though. I mean, if you want to sell gear, don't make it best in slot. I mean, I get that it's a free-to-play game, and they got to make some money. And selling gear by itself is kind of taboo. But if you're going to sell gear, sell like maybe really good gear, but not best in slot. Best in slot is where you cross the line.
I think this is a desperation Hail Mary. It's just like they know the game is sunk. It's so old now.
Yeah.
I bet there are Lineage 2 private servers in the West that are bigger than the official server now, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the NCSoft basically gave up on NCSoft on Lineage 2, because also Lineage 2 mobile's coming out now.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to have the same effect that Lineage M had on Lineage 1, where all the players migrated to mobile, right?
Yeah, probably.
So this is basically, they know that their goose is cooked. The game has run its life. It's going to be replaced soon by the mobile version. So they're going to milk it as much as they can from whoever's left before they announce the mobile version. That's my guess.
I liked an image that was on the thread about this Lineage 2 change. It's actually quite great. But everyone's saying it's pay to win. Everyone's really upset about this. But I think you're right. The fact that Lineage 2, the official Lineage 2 servers aren't popular. In fact, there are probably private servers for Lineage 2 that are more popular. And actually, this kind of goes back to last week's discussion. I think Lineage 2 would benefit a lot from, remember our discussion last week about player-created content and maybe having you download Lineage from the official website and it launches a server browser, and you can see every private server there along with their official servers. Mm-hmm. For a game like Lineage 2, a game like Ragnarok Online, a game like Mu Online, where there are countless private servers, it would benefit so much because if you can get on the official platform from the beginning, it'd be good marketing for the private servers as well. So there's an incentive to be on there as well. And you would be legit, like there would be no threat of legal action, because they do come after these servers once in a while if they get too big. It'd be such a win-win, because if NCSoft can get a small slice of the private server revenue and let them do their own thing, and you can have multiple different servers, and players will have more options, they'll be happier. You play on maybe there might be a server with 0 pay to win, minimal pay to win. There'll be a server with lots of pay to win, different custom content. It'd be such a win. I think whichever game does it first is going to be, it will be pretty successful with it, because I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think
Lineage 2 would be a great game for it.
I think you're right about the idea, but I don't think Lineage 2 will be a good game for it. I think
Why?
Lineage 2...
Well, not anymore. They should have done it earlier. It's too late now.
It's too late now, because I think here's a chart of the of NCSoft's games and their revenues, right? So Lineage one here went from last year for 118,000 billion Korean won or whatever, right? But let's just take the percentages here. So it went from 118,000 to 33,000 this year. It's not because Lineage stopped making money. It's because in this time frame, they released Lineage M, which is just the mobile version of Lineage 1. Mm-hmm. It's not a different game. It's just the same game, but on phone. So people migrated. And I think the same thing's going to happen to Lineage 2 when their Lineage 2 M comes out. So from 15,000 here, we're going to go down to 5,000 max. Right? So all those people are going to move to the phone version. So in the meantime, and I think NCSoft knows this, so they're just putting this out there just to milk the last drop out of everyone before this change happens.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they don't really care about pay to win. They're going full on, make as much money as possible before the mobile launch. I think NCSoft kind of realizes too they're not making a lot of money off Lineage 2 in the West anyway.
Yeah, well,
hopefully we don't see this kind of stuff in their more popular Western games like Blade and Soul.
Yeah, they're not even making that much money off Lineage 2 globally at this point. Yeah. So it's one of their worst games.
Yeah, again, it's so lame that this happens, but every MMORPG, every free-to-play MMORPG has this kind of bullshit in it, unfortunately. And rarely do you see it this bad, where it's literally best in the slot. Yeah. But it's always with the upgrading systems. It's always that bullshit. The only way to avoid it completely is to go subscription-based. And WoW and Final Fantasy 14 and EVE Online are great examples of that. But as a player of free-to-play games too, I don't mind some degree of pay-to-win. I know some people are like, holy shit, you can't say that. You got to say, you got to fucking say no to all pay-to-win. But no, the reality is, even when I played MapleStory back in like 2005, like old school MapleStory, they were always selling ×2 scrolls for XP and drop rates in the scroll in the store and costumes. That was always a thing. And obviously, double experience is a form of pay-to-win. It completely is. And even in Final Fantasy 14, there is some, even if it's subscription, there are some levels of pay-to-win, 100%. And look at level boosting in Final Fantasy 14. If you can get a new class level 60 instantly by paying like $15, how is that not pay-to-win? Like, who can defend that? It is pay-to-win to a degree. You are paying to skip that line and start. You get gear as well, by the way. You get starting gear as level 60 character. I paid for a level 60 Astrologian just to skip that 1 to 60 grind.
Oh,
I
wow.
paid the $15. Yeah, I got level 70 now, so I have level 70 Astrologian, level 70 Black Mage, and it's a form of pay-to-win that most people seem to be okay with. You have to kind of gauge your player base, see what you can do, and what people are okay with. And with subscription games, the amount of pay-to-win in the game is going to be very little, if any. Very little.
I don't like the level boost, and here's why. I think it encourages companies to keep content they know is awful and like time wasty, right? It encourages them to keep it there because they can monetize
They're going to keep it there anyway.
I don't know about that because remember, World of Warcraft did a huge, even let's do MapleStory because I think more people here probably play MapleStory. MapleStory was a big bang, right? I know people hate it, well, yada yada, but one thing they did is change the world around, right?
Yeah.
To kind of streamline it because at the faster experience rate, you would go through those zones too quick, right? So they kind of changed the world around because the experience was too fast now, right? And WoW did this too with the whole Cataclysm thing. So I think if it wasn't for level boosts, instant level boosts, companies would be encouraged to change the world around, cut stuff, and make it so like you can get from 1 to max level quickly, but you can still go through the old content, right? A condensed version.
Actually, MapleStory probably did that better than other games because you are right to a degree. Because MapleStory, what they did was they made basically the level 1 to 150 experience super fast. Like before, it would take forever, right? And they basically condensed that all to like 1 day of grind. Yep. Literally on a burning day, you can get that in 1 day of grind. 1 day of 8 hours playing MapleStory grind, and you can get it. And now the old grind is still kind of there from like 150 to like 200 plus. Like that grind, an extreme amount of grind you got to put it to level up to 250 is there. It just they moved it so you can skip all the bullshit early on. So MapleStory did kind of get away with it, but I don't think any other game really, fixed that system because even like World of Warcraft and Dark Age of Camelot, they've made the early game faster, but the level boosts are still there.
But so imagine if MapleStory did what Final Fantasy is doing instead, where instead
they
of
sell 150 characters,
exactly, you can just pay $20 for 150 character, or you can waste like all this time not having fun and just kind of grinding for no reason. I don't know. I feel like they encourages developers to keep that old, outdated content in place. by selling.
I'm curious, how do other people? Maybe we should make this a weekly rant. I'm curious how people feel about paying for, or like even when you buy the latest WoW expansion, you get a free level boost, right? To level 100.
Yeah.
Like every game is doing this now.
Yeah.
Whether it's WoW, Final Fantasy 14, like so many, Guild Wars 2. A lot of games are giving away these level boosts. I mean, where do people? Clearly, they must have pulled. People seem to be okay with this, and I'm curious, like the people that are very fundamentally anti-pay to win. I mean, people that complain about any little thing on pay to win. I rarely hear anybody complain about level boosts being pay to win, even though in my eyes it's very clearly they are, but a less offensive way it seems. Obviously, depending on how they do it. If they get to max level, it's different. But if you go into I don't like
it.
Not max level, it's fine.
I don't like it.
I don't mind, and everyone is okay with some degree of pay to win, and that seems to be okay in my eyes. If you can just pay to get to level 16 in FF14.
To me, it's like saying this: we know 90% of our game is so garbage, okay, and so awful that you will pay for the privilege of not experiencing it.
But Rage Gamer makes a good point though. He thinks it's fucking garbage and worse pay to win bullshit. It's much worse than paying 20% drop rate boost. What the fuck? But the difference here is, of course, you can grind to 60 on your own. Like, there's no way to get that boost without paying for it. Maybe that's why people are okay with it. But I'm just surprised more people are on outrage. And I read the FF14 forums, I read the Reddit, and I read it on. I just don't see the outrage in games like WoW, FF14, and Guild Wars 2 with stuff like level boosts. Whereas I see all the outrage for all the free-to-play games every time they add something that's even remotely pay to win. And usually they do go overboard, so the outrage is usually deserved.
I mean, if the developer doesn't respect their own content, right?
They don't. Most WoW doesn't do it now. Nobody respects their own content. Then
So then why
Guild
should
Wars
I?
2 isn't doing it.
Yeah, I know.
Guild Wars 2 isn't doing it. WoW is not doing it. Final Fantasy 14 is not doing it. So it's, I don't know. I mean, you could still have fun doing that early content, if you want, but
maybe Western companies Western MMORPGs need to do what the Chinese have been doing, where they release like a big update and they call it game name 2, even though it's the same game, just like revamped.
Yeah.
So imagine there was this WoW 2, and it just started. You start level 1 at the new expansion. That's the world, and they can keep adding to it after that. Now, I don't like all this legacy stuff. They clearly think it's worthless because they kind of make you get a free skip, right, when you buy the expansion. Yeah. So clearly, even they think it's pointless and useless. And in fact, it's worth the pay to get out of it. So why is it even there? They should just cut it.
Moist Eggwell makes a good point. They should have it at least if you get one character max level, then your second character you have the option of the level boosting. I think right now that requirement isn't there in most games that do it.
Actually,
and leveling is just a chore.
That's a good point. And you know what game did an interesting feature many years ago with that? Dark Age of Camelot. Even when we played, there was a feature where if you have a max level character, any ult you make, you can instantly type like /level, and you start at level 20. You insta level to 20. So
that's actually a good system. You don't have to pay for that either.
Yeah, it was free.
For everyone. It's awesome, actually. Really smart idea.
That was a really smart idea, because you still have to level, right, from 20x, but at least you don't have to do that beginning nonsense 1,000 times, Because right at 20 is when you have a decent number of skills open to you, right? Like, because before 20, no matter if you were a wizard, a warrior, you basically did the same shit, But after 20, it kind of opened up.
And I do want to say to a degree, it is a cash grab, because especially in Final Fantasy 14's case, there is, especially in 14's case, and why it's a cash grab in 14's case is pretty obvious to me. Because let's say you're new to Final Fantasy 14 and you want to raid with your friends, right? You can buy a level 60 boost, right? It doesn't do shit by itself. You gotta buy the story skip. It's a separate item, which is so. If you skip the story, if you get the max, if you start level 60, you still have to do the bullshit level 1 story, unless you buy the story skip. And they're such assholes with it too. It's priced, I think, differently for you want to skip just A Realm Reborn, or you want to skip you want to skip the second expansion, or the whole package. Like, does this guy have you skip both stories?
Oh my
to
God.
me, that makes it a cash grab, because if they just made a level, if you pay for the boost and it includes it, at least you might look at it in a different angle, saying you want to skip the bullshit, right? But when you look at it with the angle they have right now, where they separate the purchase between level boost, A Realm Reborn story skip, and Heaven's War story skip, and they have like separate purchases and discount for combined, it's a cash grab then, to a degree, for sure.
It's like our game is so bad, okay, that you must give how much you have to pay for the level skip and the 2 story skips.
Let me look it up. I forgot. I know it's like $50 a level skip.
Somebody said $25 each, if I remember correctly. Okay, let's say it's like that. So you gotta pay at least like what, $50, $60, $70 to skip all this shit. So they're basically saying, our content is actually so bad it's negative value. Okay, because you got to pay to not play our game.
Yeah, paid in.
So I can't get it. I'm sorry. You know what they should do? They should just make Final Fantasy 16 a MMORPG and just start fresh with all the current tech. I don't see the point of forcing new players to pay an arm and a leg to skip the game. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know. And what makes it especially worse is the fact that their own producer, Yoshi P, he said that, like, we understand that the early game sucks. He basically said that, right? He admitted his early game sucks, and now he's like, I'm going to charge you money to get past this. Again, this is coming from someone that loves Final Fantasy 14. I think it's a great game. I've played it for, like, I think my Slash played like 50 days now, or so, like 40-something days. I was playing it just before this podcast as well. I'm going to play it just after this podcast as well, too. So I like the game a lot. But I do realize that it does some things which are clearly cash grabs. And I'm still just surprised that people are okay. People just, they take it. And there's so much more resistance when Black Desert Online, and so much more outrage when Black Desert Online adds this 20% thing to the game than we see in WoW, Guild Wars, or 14. It just seems like people are okay with, for the most part, people are okay with this kind of cash purchase.
And Canaris in chat made an interesting point. So who's being forced? Is there a gun to their head? So yes, you could ultimately experience this content, and I'm sure there are some people who will enjoy it. But the fact that they are selling it, and I suspect if you bought it, Omar, and
I bought it, yeah.
We're both notoriously cheap when it comes to these games.
Oh, I am one of the cheapest. Any of my people, any of the guys in the MMOs.com Discord will know. I almost never spend money on free-to-play games or any other game where I don't spend money that I don't have to spend. So yeah, and I spent it, yeah.
So if you spent it, presumably it's a big market for them, right? A big cash cow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that would be like, so it's obviously their strategy. It's to some extent.
Yeah.
Because it's a big money. It'd be like this: you go to the movie theater to see the new Star Wars movie. It's like $10 a ticket to see Star Wars. But there's a second offer. You can go to theater B, which starts in the middle of the movie, but that costs $20. So you pay double, see the same movie, but you start in the second half. You skip the first half of the movie. Nobody would do that.
Yeah, obviously.
That wouldn't be a model.
RG Taft says, I think the difference is that pro players aren't gaining advantage from that level boost. And yeah, that is correct. I think anyone that's, you're not getting something you can't get outside the game. But if you apply that logic to the extreme, why not just sell literally the best drops in the game? Like the highest tier drops in the game. Like the current best stuff is the level 370 gear, and the level 375 weapon is best in slot for the game by far. You can get all that in the game. So the same argument can be made about, it's in the game. Anyone else can earn it anyway. But I don't think you can't just say that then, because it kind of dismisses it. And I think anyone would agree that selling best slot equipment is 100% pay to win. But if that's pay to win, why not this? Because you're getting close to that content as well. Anyone can grind to level 60 on their own. It just takes a lot of time. Just like anyone can defeat the hardest raid boss in the game. It just takes a lot of time and luck.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. This is it's weird. I don't like it.
I forgot it's $25 I think to skip everything.
$25. Oh, total. So not each. Okay.
I'm looking at one thing at least. Tale of Adventure. They price it very weird. It's not super obvious here. I'm not sure though. But yeah, it's weird.
Barriers to entry, boys.
Pay to win, boys. A never-ending discussion.
I had a totally unrelated back to Path of Exile for a second. This is a fun story.
All right, take us back.
It's a very fun story. Okay, so like I said, the new league is called the Bestiary League, right? So this is a YouTube trailer on the official Path of Exile channel, right? Let me scroll down so you can see it. So okay, oh, it's fixed now. Damn it. Okay, so yesterday when I first found this, right, YouTube has an algorithm now that kind of auto detects what game is in the trailer, right? So where it says Path of Exile now, when you first put the trailer up, it was tagged as League of Legends. I wish I took a screenshot because I didn't think they would actually update it. But it's because the name, Bestiary League. So they saw League official trailer, and they just tagged it as League of Legends.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
We can take this down a fun rabbit hole, because I know before the podcast we were talking about a pretty interesting topic about how an MMO world will look under liberal or Republican or right-wing policies. And I think it's a very fascinating idea because for MMORPGs, I think are the pinnacle of like inequality, and almost like they are the pinnacle of like this non-regulation, free market forces run completely unchecked. And that's the reason I think there's so much inequality in MMORPGs. Because I've been playing 14 as well. A lot of my friends in the game are pretty broke, right? I have a lot of money in the game, so I help my buddies out all the time because I have nothing to spend my money on. So many people are so broke in that game, and then there are other people that post on the FF14 Reddit, and they have like over 1 billion gil, which is an insane amount of money. Like, I wish there was what is the average person's gil or the average person's gold in World of Warcraft? It must be like terribly low. Like, I'm curious if you can model the inequality in World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 and compare it to like inequality in the United States. Because the U.S. is obviously known to be very, wealth and inequality here too, and income inequality. Like, I feel like that would align very well.
I think it'd be more extreme in games than in real life.
Yeah, that's true. Because at least in our lives, there is some form of like redistribution,
in taxes,
through, payroll taxes,
and death.
Yes.
Don't forget death. If you die, you go to 0. So in these games, presumably you can play for many years and your character never dies and starts over. So the inequality is a big issue in gaming. But I think the bigger issue with the better possibility in the future is using MMORPGs to kind of model different political systems and like economic systems. So can you imagine like a game like Final Fantasy 14 or WoW, 2 private servers side by side, identical. They launch the same day, but with different rule sets, and the rule sets are like governments, like the rules. And how would those worlds evolve? And which one would lead to more guild equality? Or gold equality,
and more happiness overall, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can somehow measure that, so yeah.
So
how would the be different?
So in the pregame, we were discussing something along the lines of imagine in one world, right? The capitalist, free, everyone is free to do what they want world. If it's a full loot, full PvP game, right? Where if you die outside town, you drop everything, you spawn back in base in town. Versus the more socialist world, where every time you kill a monster, you only get half the gold. The other half goes to the government, right, of that world. But when you die, you spawn back in base with basic gear. Like, you're ready to go with the sword. You got some decent armor. You might even have an insurance system where you start with all your gear. But obviously, then you get to pay more, like 80% of your gold of the monsters you kill. So which world which one would be better, worse? People could try different ones. You could tweak the parameters to see what changes. So I think
the funny thing is, I'm confident people would prefer the one where there's more safety nets, because we've seen so many full loot MMORPGs, and like these sound great on paper, but like people don't play them. People want the more Care Bear experience, the more cuddled experience in. So that would actually work better on an MMORPG, I think.
But even among the coddled, there's many different ways we can do it.
That's true.
Like I think even like diehard Republicans would agree we need cops to stop people from killing each other, right?
Yeah.
But where they would disagree is the amount of taxation and what happens to people with nothing. So, like I said, like imagine you die to an orc outside town, not a player. Now, in one version, you'd spawn back in town with nothing, whereas in the other, the town guards would give you basic equipment, and you pay for that with your taxes through killing monsters. So that's my.
That'd be really cool, actually. If someone can run an experiment like that, like modeling different social systems throughout virtual worlds and kind of measuring player behavior on that, that'd be pretty intense. Yeah. Maybe in the future, when we have the technology for it.
Yeah, we'll see.
With simulations would be ideal or something. It'd be pretty neat.
One day.
One day, boys. Next up, we should mention that Bless is probably going to be happening sooner rather than later. The Steam release date showed up as June 30th, so the game should be launching sometime by June, because they did say they want to release the game in 2018, and that they would have a 6-month early access period, which will be no wipe early access, so it's basically an open beta. But do we know for sure if the game's gonna be free to play? Because I feel like they might have been teasing.
No, they
buy to play model.
Yeah, exactly. They said buy to play, and I think it's supposed to happen. Early access is gonna cost money. For at least 6 months, they said they're gonna do early access, and at the end of that, they might go free to play.
They might. They're not committing to free to play. They said they might.
No, they're not committing. I think they're gonna copy Black Desert.
Yeah, I think that model is still the best in terms of making money. It's frustrating as a player, but I think for the business, it's the best model. Because you basically get everyone that wants to pay and is willing to pay. You take all their money, and then everyone who's not willing to pay, you can get all of them on board afterwards, like 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, Black Desert is doing well here, despite the fact that the cash shop, especially now, is literally the same cash shop as Korea, and it costs $10 to get in. So I think that's exactly what they're going to do with Bless.
Ben Simon said, get Bernie Sanders on the podcast. He can talk to us about liberal policies on MMORPGs. All right, we'll throw an invite for him, right, Bernie? You're out there. You're listening to us. You're invited to the MMOs.com podcast.
And I think we've touched on this last many podcasts ago. But I think ultimately, while human welfare should be all of our priority, right? We want to make sure everyone does okay, right? Mm-hmm. Financial equality is never going to happen. And games are a good test of that. Like Omar was saying, he always has lots of money in Final Fantasy 14, while other people are broke all the time. And this is a world where you can't get sick, you can't die, you don't need housing, shelter, food, water, right?
It's literally a perfectly equal society. Like you're not born with privilege. You start the game with fucking level 1 with nothing. Everyone starts the game the same way.
You're all immortal. So, yeah, like there's no like health.
You're all immortal.
Yeah,
so that's actually interesting because I know a lot of people say like a lot of rich people in the world just were born with better IQ, with better parents, with better opportunities.
Well, IQ still matters because
IQ follows through, but like you're not born with better parents in WoW or Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah,
everyone is born with the same opportunity.
Yeah.
In 14, it's what you make out of that.
Yeah.
So even in a perfect world where you extract all that bullshit, like you were saying, it's always unequal. Yeah. Whether it was Ultima Online, whether it was World of Warcraft, whether it was Final Fantasy 14, every online game I've seen always leads to unequal outcomes.
Massive inequality, more than the real world. Like
much more.
Yeah. So I think it's just a nature of humanity, and yeah, I think ultimately it's IQ that comes down, or like your interest in money.
Some people can't be IQ. You can just measure wealth by IQ. Like there must be a study on that.
Oh, I would put everything I had that there was almost 1-to-1 positive correlation with IQ and
yes, but it doesn't guarantee that outcome either. You can be a really smart guy and not be rich.
Yeah. And
overall, it would follow that.
But I'm saying if you could, like we said, in MMORPG, if you could remove those other features like getting hit by a truck while crossing the street, no matter what your IQ is, you're dead, right? If you might get polio and die, no matter what your IQ is, right? But if you can remove all those hazards, if we were immortal shells like we are in an MMORPG, I think IQ would trace wealth almost 1-to-1.
Interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
Anything else?
All right, I got a story. I got a good story.
Right,
this is
I like good stories.
It's a good story, but it might end up bad. We'll see. Okay, U.S. Copyright Office is considering abandoned online games exemption. So, according to the current U.S. copyright law, there's already an exemption for museums, libraries, and other archive institutions, nonprofits, to legally run emulators. So, if you go to like a video game museum today, they have them in California and such, you can play like Super Mario Bros. On an emulator, right? And it's perfectly legal. They can't get in trouble for that. That already exists for single player games. But now, the MADE, which is the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment, along with others, have lobbied the U.S. Copyright Office to increase that exemption to include online games, MMORPGs specifically. So what they want to do is be able to host games that got shut down, like Star Wars Galaxies or whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. To host their own servers for these games for museum/archive purposes. And they would allow people to log in and play online. But again, nonprofit. And the U.S. Copyright Office is considering it. Apparently, every 3 years, they have this kind of review process on what is allowed, what is exempt from copyright. So the U.S. Copyright Office is going to review this. But, as you might not be surprised, the Entertainment Software Association, which is the umbrella group that represents, EA, Nintendo, Ubisoft, all the big gaming companies, is against this. They say, no, the server technology that would be used for this was never supposed to be public. We don't want it to be public. Basically, we don't want you to run emulator servers for MMORPGs. Even though, here's the funny part, it's already happening, but now it's happening by for-profit private servers. There's this myth out there that private servers are always just run by fans, right? Which they are run by fans, but they're not, they're not like money-losing enterprises. A lot of private servers make a lot of money. And they have their
crazy money,
and they have their own cash shops. There's money coming into these.
We're talking like small private servers with like 500 players online can make upwards of like $5,000 a month. That's insane. Like we're talking real money. We're not talking lunch money here. We're not talking milk money. We're talking, $5,000, $10,000 a month for like servers with 500 to 1,000 players online. And if your server is like 10,000 players online, forget they can make hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. There are private servers out there for WoW. I bet they make over $50,000 a month.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Mm-hmm. RO servers also. We have experience with that. There's RO servers out there, at least when we were younger, that made a lot of money. I'm sure there's still a lot of big ones out there. So it's already happening. So I hope the U.S. Post Office, I don't know why I keep saying Post Office, the U.S. Copyright Office, I hope they do allow this exemption, and they do allow museums to host private servers for these online games so that we can all go back and play them in a setting that we know is nonprofit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to just look at what this game used to be, you could go to a museum's private server rather than downloading some Chinese spyware and playing on some Russian kid's private server where he's gonna sell you shit all day and steal your bandwidth. I don't know, whatever. So this is a really,
and you're just trying the game and maybe you be at the museum to play it or something. Can you play it at home? Like, can you play on this private server from home, a museum's private server? Probably not. I think that what they want to do is when you're at the museum, like, you want to see the game in action, maybe.
Well, actually, I think they would go above that. I think you would have to register with the museum, go there in person or something, and then you can log in at home. But there would be a clause that there's no money able to be made here, and it would only for like shutdown games.
Yeah, actually, this seems like a win-win. I feel like the game companies themselves would win like good PR over this. It seems like I understand why they don't want to do it, because they don't want to get their code out there, and they always like instantly oppose this stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Nintendo's against it too, but I feel like Nintendo is I have very low respect for Nintendo's digital like policy, because they DMCA basically every video on YouTube.
Yeah,
there's like Mario in it and stuff. It's insane what Nintendo does on YouTube.
Fun fact, guys! One of our earlier podcasts, one of our first few podcasts, when Pokemon Go first came out, we showed a trailer of Pokemon Go on the podcast here. And what we did is we basically played a YouTube video of their official trailer, and that got shut down by Nintendo. Those assholes. Yeah, that's all I had.
Goddamn Nintendo. Well, anything else? Or are we in the post game?
I think it's time for the post game, boys.
All right. Thanks for joining us for YouTube, guys. A lot of pay-to-win controversy this week. And I suspect we're going to be hearing a lot more pay-to-win stuff from BDO unless they go free-to-play. If they go free-to-play, there'll still be some pay-to-win stuff, but I think more people will be okay with it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think they're long due to go free-to-play, and I hope they do.
I think so as well, yeah.
Yep. All right. Take care, YouTube.
All right. Later for YouTube.